13 and 16 that are going to be pulled from the agenda tonight. 13, the information has changed, so that will be in our next packet, and the attorney doesn't have anything for item 16, so.
Do we need to move to amend the agenda? No? Okay.
Sufficient.
Unless there's objection to those things. Okay, all those in favor of the agenda as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications?
I wouldn't say it's a conflict of interest. Oh, I guess we're not talking about it anymore. Never mind. I work at the Science Center.
There you go.
Never mind.
Anybody else? Okay, communications by and petitions from visitors. Nobody rushing to the stage here. So we don't have any guest speakers, so audience comments regarding agenda items. Nobody's coming up, so chairpersons, representatives of CCMC, board of directors, Greg left, Randall left, school board, not here, so student council is out, so that was quick on our reports. Approval of consent calendar, nothing there tonight. Approval of minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of 7/17/19 regular council meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. No bids. Reports of officers. Mayor's reports written in your packet. I think he's on a mountain hunting sheep or goats or something right now. Sheep. So the manager's report. Alan.
First, I'd like to point out, we're going to put this in a packet for you to view, but the first one is the completion of the build grant that was submitted July 15th. This is most of the narrative, but the supporting documentation, the cost analysis study, those things, it's a pretty sizable grant application. So, but we'd like to have that for reference for you so that in the future, we've talked about applying for this on an annual basis. So you'll see what the product is and how we refine that if you choose to move forward with it. So the other one is the completion of the harbor facility grant, which I did not print copies of these for you at this point because we're going to put it in a book for you. But you can see that this is a pretty sizable document here. And thanks to Sam and Leif and Tony and all the folks that worked on it to make this possible, this is really a monumental task. And we will, by the end of the year, we're hopeful in September that we'll hear about the harbor grant, then sometime between October and December hear about the build grant. And so we'll have that information for you. And I just wanted to point those out, that those are sizable documents and they'll be in a packet for you.
Well, just a quick comment. If it's online, I don't know if it is, but rather than printing all of that.
Yeah, that's probably correct. I don't know if they're online, but I'll check.
I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but that's a lot of printing and paper to.
Well, we're going to put it in a book. I think
Okay.
we'll make.
Not everybody's going to copy that.
Yeah, we'll make a book. So the build grant is not available online because there's so many parts to it that it's from different places. But
Got it.
good suggestion. The next thing is I want, if you go to page 7 in your packet, the financial report, I know there's some desire to have clarity on this. So I've given you a sheet that has a couple of explanations on it about the fees and the RAP percentage. Going through this document with you, you can see back to 2010, and you can see the starting balance, the net deposits and withdrawals in any given year, and then the dividends plus interest, gain or loss. And the idea was to have this in a very concise manner, and after looking at this, it didn't really seem like there was anything more concise that we could do, because we'd still have to give you the same line items. If you look at the fee number, that line starting in 2010 going to 2018, those are the total fees, and you can see that at the top of the sheet that I gave you that the fees, the city's under a wrap fee arrangement, which means it does not pay commissions or brokerage fees. The numbers there are net. If an investment returns X, we pay X. So there's no hidden fees, there's no hidden brokerage fees, there's none of that. So in the next line, you can see the fee dollars divided by the starting balance. I will say that that percentage called basis points, that is, for example, in 2010, that is, it's not, you take the starting balance of 14 times 0.37, you're going to get about $52,000 in fees. The number is exact in that row. 52,944 were all the fees that we were charged. The percentage is more illustrative because throughout the year, we're billed quarterly, and the number fluctuates for the fee charging. So, for example, if you go to 2017, and I did the math, if you take 0.5% times 11.395 million, it doesn't come out exactly to 0.5%. The number's a little bit different, but 57,383 is exact. If you go to the chart on the right, the blue part is our returns over the time frame. So blue is money that we've gained. The yellow slice that's just below that is what we would have netted had we stayed in our previous investment with the investment pool. We were with the Alaska Municipal League Joint Investment Pool, and that's what we would have gained had we stayed with them for the same period of time. The brown portion on the bottom is the cumulative fees over since 2010. So we've paid $57,681 in cumulative fees since 2010. We have had returns of $3,912,029. The average basis point fee is about 0.052%. It's a little more than 0.5% on an annual basis. So with that, I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, can I go one more thing?
Yeah.
The RAP percentage, the document that I gave you, explains the accounts that UBS utilizes. 6.8 million at 70 basis points. And then the income portfolio is split between the permanent fund and the CT is central treasury. And that's 50 annual basis points. For accounts that are not managed, such as short-term reserves, they don't get any advisory fee. Okay.
All right. So I'm trying to, and I guess I could do the math on all of these to find out our return percentage, because that's really the key number is what percent you are returning year in, year out, and the average. So I see we've 3.9 million. That's nice, but if that's 2% or 3% or 4%, what are we getting? So I'll take a look at that.
And I apologize, that wasn't a number that
Yeah, no, and I think that's key. I mean, 3 million, almost 4 million sounds impressive, but you're doing it on the start of 14 million and dropping down to 11 million. So what is that percentage? And then, so we're in,
And we've made sizable withdrawals in 10, 12, 14, 16, and 17, and now
right.
19.
And that's where the percentage of return is more important than the end result, because
Right.
that's what tells you how you're doing. So we're in US Treasury bill. Okay, so there's I guess what I'm looking at is there, and that was a question I wanted to have, is there an account, if we set this up to where we had, let's say $500,000 in, if we needed it, if we needed $100,000, where do they pull that out of now? Do they wait for the T-bills to, or they sell stock? I guess that's,
No, we have a certain percentage of liquid assets, and I can basically cash.
Yeah.
I can send you that sheet because that's contained in a report that we have as well.
okay.
And then we also have the central treasury account, which is over $1 million, that I think is pretty liquid for us.
All right, yeah. Well, thank you. I'll look at this.
And of course, the permanent fund takes 7 votes to get the money, but I don't think the central treasury requires that.
I think it all does.
The central treasury, is that the general fund? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the swimming pool.
Did we still have different times you've mentioned a CD at First National? You know what the status of that is? We were gonna
I'd have to
look
look,
into that at some point.
I'd have to look at it.
If that was included in any of these, or if we still had it, or,
I'll have to look. I don't remember right off the top of my head.
yeah, if you could look into that and see, because I think we'll need to be discussing the first thing with the hospital here pretty soon.
Yeah. And then, I'd like to talk about recruiting a little bit, just to let you know where we are. We're now in our third effort with a finance director. We interviewed an applicant, it was a week or 2 weeks ago, and I think we all agreed that we keep looking. And I just want you to know that I just talked to a place in particular that has been recruiting for some time, and it's just not us. We were actually pretty lucky in the last recruitment because we got more applicants, but they've been open for a month. They've had 2 applicants. And so it's a problem around. So we're evaluating a variety of things, and we had a strategy going forward after the resignation of John, and the idea was to bring Dean in and get ourselves through this year, trying to culminate in the new budget and a new hire for 2020. So we're still on track on that. We're evaluating some of our other options, and we're continuing to move forward, and pretty confident that we can continue as we are. We have some staff that are learning new things and helping us forward. So just wanted to update you on that.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, so with that subject, when I looked last week trying to check on it, the only place I could find that advertisement was on the city website. So is there a reason that we weren't spreading that advertisement around, or could I not find it? Was it someplace else?
Well, I think the practice is that you sort of do an intense recruitment and then you retract a bit, so people don't see this ongoing ad for months and months and months at a time. And the reason the ad wasn't widely distributed is because we were bringing in that candidate and we were going to interview him, so there was sort of a pause in what we were doing, and we've renewed our efforts again.
All right, so then just a suggestion on that. Kind of have some thoughts. I think we talked before about kind of throwing a wider net for advertising. And some thoughts I had is you could contact HR at CTC. They've done advertising. CEC, I know the person that does that advertising personally, and they kind of went some non-conventional ways. I think even one of the Outdoor Life type magazines, trying to find that PISWAC or Prince William Science Center, PISWAC, they've all had HR, they've all done some stuff. Maybe we can pick up some thoughts on what they're doing and where they're getting. And then with the University of Fairbanks, University of Anchorage, University of Alaska Southeast,
They're
I'm
gonna
sure
be letting
there's,
folks go.
huh?
They're gonna be letting folks go.
Oh, yeah. And I think, yeah, well, exactly that. And I think there's got to be a job bulletin board there. And then maybe there's some recent, you think about graduates, do you want somebody that's 21 that just graduated? But there's a lot of times people in their, 30s, 40s, and 50s go back and get their degrees. So maybe there's somebody out there too that just could reach out. Of course, Anchorage Daily News, and then just on Facebook, I think when things get posted on our local Facebook, I mean, it goes like wildfire. But you never know, somebody might have an aunt and uncle that's looking to relocate, so let's let the people know. So I think on all of our jobs that we're looking for, we need to get creative because there is a lot of competition out there. It's something that's going on. So that was some of my thoughts, and maybe we can expand that out.
Any other questions for the manager?
I was just gonna say, for University of Alaska system, I don't know if they have a job board, they might, but I know they have listservs that they send out to faculty and staff and students.
And I'm sure that the Science Center, when they're looking for somebody, where are they reaching out? I mean, just, it may not help us, but let's ask, I know.
Any other questions for the manager?
Questions and suggestions?
City clerk's report.
If you guys look at correspondence, will you just comment on that last one for me, so I know if you want me to bring a resolution? Hopefully you've read that letter from Kim Weber.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Is there a process for that? I mean, I don't,
Yeah, she looked into it, or I might have advised her to call a legislator. Basically, we got her started by putting a letter of interest like this in to
Okay.
kind of tell the mayor, and then it would be in front of you. You would say, okay, Susan, bring us a resolution next time, and we'll get the resolution approved, and then send it to the legislature, and they kind of get, I think it's a resolution before them also. And then they would direct DOT to pretty much, do the job. But, so it's time, it'll be next session, and Kim understood that, so.
Are there unnamed bridges between here and where you can drive?
Yeah, I need to look at the last one we did. I think I did leave gaps, but I'll look.
I don't know.
We probably want to look at that
Yeah,
before we
certainly, as I'm
don't
writing
wanna-
the resolution.
don't want to rename something we just named, so.
And that was
So I guess if you
getting
want
back to the
comment.
process too. Did we were these dedicated to veterans? I just don't know.
Yes, the last one, it was when Bill Thomas was our representative, and he's a veteran. And I think he brought it to the attention of, was it Callander or Jim Cash? I think it was Jim Callander, mayor at the time. And so, yeah, he wanted to get it done in Juneau, so he asked us to do some research, and the Historical Society and Kathy Sherman did a lot of the research, and then we got a whole bunch of them.
So just throwing it out there, I mean, another option is that we would have control of is like an Irene Weber Day, picking out a celebration for that. Just throwing some ideas out for the family. I don't know.
I think she
what the
was
process-
thinking on the highway, if it was something that you run past for the marathon of salmon runs,
Yeah,
then it would be appropriate for Irene.
yeah, whatever.
So obviously, I'll try and find one even maybe at a good spot, marathon-y type of number. I don't know if there's one at exactly 26, but
Yeah, I don't have a problem with doing that, but we need to make sure that we
yes, I'll do the research.
don't try to
before
name
I-
a bridge that's already named or something.
Sure, absolutely. So is that good enough direction to me right there? Yes? Bobbleheading?
Theoretically.
Okay. And then I thought, since maybe this is going to be a shorty, if at pending agenda, we can look and maybe try and knock some of those things off that pending agenda, because a lot of it's like 2 or 3 councils old, but we'll get there at pending agenda, and that's just, a suggestion. And as far as at pending agenda also, I don't know if you want to try to set up some meetings, because this healthcare report from Agnew Beck, Shelley, seemed to have some specific dates, like August, and then maybe September. So if you want to do that at pending agenda also. And that was about all I had to report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the clerk? Okay, hearing none. Staff quarterly reports. Harbor Master's report.
Some questions on the Harbor Master report,
You want the Harbor Master to come up here? I can
if that would be appropriate.
sequester him.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot.
You come up, Tony.
So, I mean, we all know the harbor's in rough shape. How do you justify throwing more and more money into it? Are we just in a fix that we just got to keep doing what we can do until possibly we get a grant? I mean, obviously, we got to keep it safe. I mean, is there a point where you go, wow, I don't want to fix that, but you just have to?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we have to, or it just becomes a liability.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to say, well, we're done spending money on it and just wait, but it's in too bad a condition to even take a break on it.
Right.
So,
So you're just gonna, do what you can do, keep going on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's appreciated. I'm just curious on your thought process on,
we're just going to continue to fix what we can and do the best we can with it,
so you're kind of going ahead with we don't have the grant coming, let's just get her done.
Yeah, I mean, plan that we don't have the grant, even though
Okay.
we're hoping in
Yeah.
September and December that we get the call and we got the money.
Right. Okay, well, that's what I was curious on.
Can I just add a quick note that, and remember that part of the plan, the budget plan, was adding 5% a year to the fees for the next, 1 year was this year and 4 more years, so that we could increase the amount of maintenance that we were doing.
Yeah, because I mean, even the old new side is, that was in 2005 and 6.
Right.
So before you know it, that's going to start to require a lot of maintenance, a lot more than
Right.
it already does.
So we need to stay on top of that.
Yeah. So that one still costs money along with our peers and everything else.
All right, well, appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, Tony. Any other questions for Tony before he gets up? All right, thank you. Okay, correspondence. We talked about Irene Weber letter from Kim Asplund. Letter for Tommy Sheridan and letter to ANTHC. Comments, questions? We got rid of our ordinance and resolution. No unfinished business, a new miscellaneous business, a pending agenda. Here we are.
You know what I forgot to say at my report also? On May 15th, you were all at a meeting. And then you know how I always put in the consent calendar, record an excused absence or unexcused absence? Because it wasn't on my agenda from the previous one, because you were all in attendance. I totally slipped my mind and I've been forgetting. So on the next August meeting, there'll be a whole bunch listed. And unless anybody can recall being unexcused on any of them, if I recall, I think they were all work-related for all the excused. I thought, Tom, you might have been about to miss a meeting, but then I think that was the one we canceled in June. Is that when you were away?
Correct, you didn't have a quorum.
Okay. So that'll be on the next one. And I do keep those statistics, and I have a spreadsheet if at any time anybody wants to see council's attendance record. Okay, so how do you guys feel about knocking any of these things off? Like, a long time ago, number 1, council member service on boards and commissions. How we have it now is that anytime I advertise, like usually in November, I start advertising for a whole bunch of them that are coming up. Council can put a letter in and council can choose, what's that?
The turnover for those is November.
Yes,
That's what I
it's in
thought. Yeah,
November.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I.
That's when
advertise
you
before
start.
then. Well, I advertised
whatever,
before
yeah.
then, yeah. So council members at that time can choose to put in a letter of interest and be appointed just like anybody else. There was a time when we had a council rep, we called it, on a board or commission, but then there was an issue with council feeling, am I representing council's views when I'm there? And then do I represent that committee when I come back to council to give a report? So we kind of did away with that.
So I thought when we did that resolution, we put may in there. May
Yes.
serve on it. So it just, and I think the reason was if we have a planning commission and we can't get somebody, then let's appoint somebody, and then if somebody does step forward, we can work that out. But I think that was the thought process, that we would rather have it with other people, the citizens being on it, if I remember correctly. So we went with May, so.
I agree.
Are there legal issues?
We did think, the attorney did weigh in and thought it was best to not have council members on boards and commissions. When a recommendation from Harbor was coming forward, where does that council member sit? Are they conflicted? They've already been at a meeting, So she agreed with the way we're doing it, which is why we changed it to that. So really, I don't know why it's still on there, except for I think there was one council member who was concerned.
Well, I think it's still on there because there's two issues with that. One is what you were talking about there with somebody actually serving on the committee. The other one was a council rep on these various boards and commissions. And at one point in time, we had one that was a voting member of everything. And then so we've discussed whether that should be an ex officio member,
Oh,
or
right.
whether, we've had that discussion here recently, I think, about whether we should have a council member sitting in on the school board meetings or on the planning commission meetings, or we already
Well,
have some.
I mean, I'm on
And school
Parks and
board's
Rec.
different, and yeah, Ann is.
And you're
on
an
Parks
actual
and Rec.
member,
Yeah, I'm a voting
which
member of Parks and
helps
Rec.
give us some continuity, but like, we don't have anybody currently on the planning commission, for example. We don't have anybody currently on the
School?
school board.
Well, and school board, it
They're
cannot
separate.
ever be a voting member, and that
Right.
became an issue as well. That is a little bit of a separate one.
Well, and that's when it was,
But they still count us absent every meeting because they have a spot on their agenda.
Oh, really?
For the council rep.
in planning and zoning was the same way. They had a rep, but they were non-voting, and then council decided, well, let's make it a voting. So they actually kicked Tom Baylor off because his time was up and made Clay Copeland, the council rep, a voting member. And then, I don't know, that went on for like 10 years and then it's changed. So I think the thing I don't want to call it frustration, but you show up to a meeting and you just sit there and then there's no vote. And then they kind of gave council some input, but
I think we could probably put it on an agenda to have that discussion and finalize it rather than keeping it on the pending agenda to
Okay.
yeah,
decide we're gonna talk about it sometime. Let's talk about it, make a decision, and,
yeah.
Go
We
with
can
it
either
and-
go with it or leave it the way we've got it right now, voluntary.
yeah.
Okay.
So I
let's
think
get
that would be
on-
the
let's get
process,
that
where
on
give us an option of voting a member on it or just leaving it voluntary the way we.
Well,
I'm
you'll
doing
just
it
read
now.
code, and if anybody has a suggestion, I'll put the code in there.
Okay.
And the agenda item will be, if anybody wants to change, this is the time. Let's discuss and
So
direct.
we'll just make it an agenda. The second one, Odia Camper Park, isn't the Parks Commission doing a study on
Yeah,
expanding that?
we're-
Oh,
There's, at some point, I'm not sure what the status of it, but they're potentially in the process of submitting a grant for, the Lancome LC, I don't know the acronym.
I know that we authorized them to spend some of their
Yes,
money
to
on
drop
it.
some designs, yes. So it's in the works. I don't know.
so maybe I can just
status.
So I'm not,
add to this and at least say,
I don't know why it has to be on
Okay, take
our
it off.
pending agenda.
Yeah,
It'll
they're
come back to us when
being
they're
worked
ready
on.
for some,
okay.
There you
okay.
go. Perfect.
same thing with the harbor expansion. Until we get a grant or something, I don't know. Do we
I
have
know,
to
I mean, I
discuss it?
think that was a long time like ago and it was meant
Plus,
to
we've
be
already
before.
Passed the tax. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
So,
Do you think strategic
I mean, I guess I'll leave that on there.
planning?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That kind of goes along with.
and the E911,
And
you can leave that
working
on there.
Towards the next budget.
I'm leaving E911. Oh, this, interesting, this work session, because Clay's gone, I, possibly for personal reasons, called Melina and said, could you go chat with the fishing game guy about, maybe affecting the economy of Cordova by not opening it so much? And then, of course, as we're chatting, he made that announcement that said, oh, a broad area will be made tomorrow. But anyway, she did go. But should I leave this on?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to leave that other one on. It says after fishing, that was an intent. Oh,
Item number 8.
are we still going to have next time? I mean, I think we've just decided to just keep having the meetings and seeing. Are you having a planning commission next week? And you'll have something for us? Yes, okay, so we're having a second August meeting, so I'm going to take that off. Oh, when healthcare plan comes, we'll bring that. Oh. Did you get that, number 10, to an attorney, or do we want to? You want us to do that, right? I mean, I know David Allison, you said it.
Yeah.
And was it agreed by council? Do we want to change that date, if you recall? It looked like statute gave us the option to have a
Right.
different date.
right now we say November, but then it comes back to us in May anyway, so it's,
I don't know that they won't bring it in May, because that's when they're doing their budget.
well, we still need some information in November too, though, so we can put some in our budget for the second half
Yeah.
of the year. So I don't know, it's just a bad timing thing, but we don't need to discuss it now. We can either put it on an agenda or,
Okay,
let's put it on a fall agenda when everybody's here.
okay.
We need to sooner than later. I think as soon as they find out about, the CCMC finds out about exceptional relief and interest payments for sure, I think we need to, that's costing us 12%. We need to have that discussion and see how we're going to handle that. If it's, get some options from the finance department and the manager on where we could come up with that money. And if it needs to be permanent fund, then obviously we need to wait till there's 7 voters sitting in the
Yeah.
chairs, but
You can have a first reading
we need
without
to have the
7.
discussion.
we need to have the discussion. I
Yeah.
agree. This is crazy.
But if you do a discussion and then 2 readings, that's a long time away from,
Well, I don't mean that. I mean, we
Still
need to
paying
put it on
12%.
first reading.
Well, we're stuck with that, but, we're not, we don't need to wait till 3 months or down the road to have our first meeting about it. We need
Right.
to decide.
okay, so are you putting it on as an ordinance next time, or are you putting it on as a discussion item?
Well, I'll try to get on the ordinance part of it. Might not make the packet. The next step we're going to do is we're going to talk to that. He's the chief financial officer for PERS. He's on vacation. He's due back on the 14th. We're going to talk to him on the 14th. We can prepare a resolution, or an ordinance. We won't have a number in it that'll be accurate.
Well,
You can change the number to whatever you
we've got a
want. but-
ballpark within a couple $100,000, and with the numbers we're talking about, that's close enough. We need to
Then
talk
we'll-
about where we're gonna get the money.
If you want to
Is
prepare
this-
an ordinance, I'll prepare an ordinance.
I don't think we need an ordinance yet. We need to have the discussion and
Okay.
decide the parameters of that, and then we can direct you at that point in time to, I'm not sure you'll know anything in time for our next meeting, though. I don't know where Wednesday deadline is. I don't know what days. That's probably the 14th, so.
But it wouldn't be a bad idea. The first reading of an ordinance transferring does not need 7. And possibly you'll have a sense of what's in the general fund reserve
we
at that
need-
point, too. All right.
Yeah. go
We
ahead,
need
Tom.
we need to make sure that this isn't like a 4-3 thing. I mean, we got to discuss this. Is there a way that can we go into executive session to discuss payment of the PERS because it's a financial, is there a way that we could,
Well, I'm sure it affects the finances of the company.
well, it
Yeah,
does.
but
And
why
so is there a
would it
way that we
drive
could
it?
go in and have a conversation amongst us all on that?
I'm sure we can ask Holly.
Not to gauge votes. That kind of sounds like why.
Well, no, we got to
Do.
decide where to come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but who would we be hurting talking about that out loud?
Well, I'd like to find that out, just,
I don't. Okay, we can find out.
unless you guys don't think it's worth it.
No. Do we need to discuss it? And it needs to be taken care of. I don't know that there's a whole lot to discuss other
Right.
than look at.
Well, I don't want to air it out in
see
front
where
of the
they,
public.
see where they come, but
Yeah.
it's got to be paid, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else on that pending agenda that we need to
That was good.
talk about quick?
I'm excited to get rid of that stuff. So any of these meetings or not yet? Because you're having some healthcare meetings this week, so then we'll wait on any of the group meetings, or you'll set them up? I didn't know if we wanted to.
Well, I think Burton needs to talk to his people, and I think,
I thought Greg said he was taking the lead.
yeah,
and-
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we need to set up any meetings at this point in time, other
Okay.
than what's already
I
planned.
think that was handled well. Yeah.
But there's a meeting tomorrow at 11, right? With NVE?
Well, right now, it's Greg, Bert, and I.
Nobody else can go, or?
Anybody can go that wants to, if you want to go to that meeting.
I definitely want to go.
Burt's office, 11 o'clock.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Anything else? Last call for the pending agenda, I guess we were on.
I'm excited to clean up that piece of paper.
Audience participation. Everybody's running up to the counter.
Tony, here's your chance.
Okay, council comments. Nobody on the line still?
No, I turned it off.
Okay. Mr. Baylor?
Oh, I think that was real helpful with Greg and the hospital. That's good information, and I think we need to have that discussion on the PERS as we discussed. So, no, that's it.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yeah, it was a good discussion about healthcare for Cordoba. Looking forward to moving forward on that and partnering with NVE if possible. Also, good job to everyone who worked to prepare the build grants and the harbor grants. A lot of work, so well done. Hopefully it'll be successful. So, thank you.
I concur.
Okay, like to thank staff for their work on those things as well, and thanks Robbie for sticking with us again, being our faithful follower here and getting our word out to the public. We're still looking for CCMC advisory board members. If anybody is interested, please get your name into the Health Services Board. Okay, we have an executive session item. A discussion about the terms of the city manager's contract.
I move to enter an executive session to discuss the terms of the city manager's contract in executive session because the subjects that may be considered are matters the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the government.
Been moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming all. We will
Take a short recess.
take a short recess to clear the room.